Welcome to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today we pull back the curtain on charm, deceit, and recovery. Today's topic is romance scams. So meet Linda Young, the woman who turned heartbreak into a warning call for others. Her story isn't just about one man's manipulation, it's about the psychology of fraud and how easily trust can be exploited. In a world where emotional and financial scams are on the rise, Linda's experience offers crucial lessons in awareness and resilience. In her book, Her King the Con, she exposes how one man's manipulation and her journey through it became a lesson in awareness and empowerment. If you think it can never happen to you, think again. Stay tuned as Linda shares how to spot the red flags before a con finds you. Her warning could protect you or someone you love. Today, I'm joined by Linda Young, co-author of Her King the Con and a survivor of a romance scam. Linda, welcome to Empowered. Thank you so much for being here today.
Elizabeth, it's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me onto your show. Very aptly named Empowered, because that's some of what we're going to talk about today.
So I want to do this caution before we start the show.
Mhm.
There are so many haters out there. There are so many people that come out with negative comments. And all I want to say is, don't hate, learn from this because Linda is extremely brave to come out here and share her experience. So Linda, let's begin with the sharing. What
Mm.
initially drew you into interactive with this person online?
Well, first, so of course it was personal. I had just been divorced after a 24-year marriage, and I was very new to online dating. I really had limited awareness of what scamming was. I knew kind of about it in the back of my mind, but of course I didn't think it would happen to me. Um, and it did. But what I'm here to talk about too is that we can all survive and we can recover. I was lonely after my divorce. And the other thing that's a real difficult thing for me to say that I had to come to terms with was that it would felt safe for me to talk to somebody online instead of face to face. I had very low confidence, very low self esteem, especially after a divorce. And having this person give me such positive attention and saying kind words, which was not happening in my marriage, was kind of like an addiction. I soon began to just thrive to be able to feel that joyful feeling when I would hear his voice or he would text in the middle of my day or anytime we had long exchanges on our email thread. Um, and that's what happened to me. I was just plain vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, things happen. And you just kind of ignore those red flags, which I did, even to the point of really shutting out my family and some of my friends because I didn't want to hear it. I really didn't want to hear it. Um, so that was what initially drew me. And this was the first time I had ever gone on to online dating as well. I had no experience with online dating before this happened.
So, Linda, let's go back to the beginning. How did
Mhm.
the predator actually gain your trust?
Well, first of all, again, I was vulnerable. And, I'm a giver, I'm an empath. I love to take care of people, and I'm used to doing that. So this was like having the tables turned, and for once, I wasn't having to be the caretaker. I wasn't the one that was having to be the breadwinner. I wasn't the one that had to be super, super responsible. And I had these beautiful words spoken to me, spoken about me, and it just felt so nice. I was a lot of women, a lot of people in relationships understand that when you come from an emotionally abusive and difficult marriage, you're just open for any kind of, wow, you look nice today. I mean, any little thing. And this wasn't a little thing, it grew to be quite a big thing. And I couldn't stop. It was really, really bad. I just couldn't stop.
So, Linda, it's almost like it's addictive. Who doesn't want to be
Yes.
loved? I mean, we all want, our hearts to feel cozy and we all want to be loved and have somebody tell them that they love us. When we come back from the commercial break, I want to talk to you about whether you knew of early warning signs that you noticed later in
Mhm.
hindsight. So please don't go away. It's a very
I
important
will not.
show that'll help you with red flags and romance scams. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today we're discussing surviving a romance scam and what red flags to look out for. So, Linda, before we went to break, I had mentioned early warning signs.
Mhm.
What were your early warning signs that you noticed later in hindsight?
Well, some of the things that I noticed was, first of all, not any inclination to go on to FaceTime. There was always an excuse to not go live on the phone so that we could actually see each other. I'm in, faraway country. Actually, supposedly the whole time I was talking to him, he was in Cuba. So that was a red flag, but I just ignored it.
That's because you kept getting all these wonderful words from
Mhm.
him, and again, it's addictive. So let's
Mhm.
go forward then. How did the situation shift from a normal conversation to manipulation and then harm?
That's what they do. So, one thing I want people to really understand is these are not just the guy next door kind of people. It's a syndicate. And what I found out about the person who scammed me, which was fascinating, is that he had a quota. And if he did not deliver on his end, whether it was money or Apple products, he could get into trouble. So after a while, there's a lot of just that, nice stuff in the beginning. And then some of the pressure started with, "Oh, it's okay. Everything's gonna be fine," the gaslighting and everything. So, yeah, that's what happened.
But I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong. It
Mhm.
wasn't just one person that was romance scamming you. It was like a team of 5, 6, 10 people.
Yes. So, I don't have any absolute proof. The strange thing about my experience is that I did end up talking to my scammer after he was called out, after I called him out, and it was a fascinating conversation. And basically, he was just a worker, to the people that were overseeing the scams, and he had to produce. Um,
I think it's
yes.
really interesting that you just brought that up because you talked to him after the fact. And I think one of the
Mhm.
key things that a lot of people don't understand is once you've been scammed by a scammer, they will come back and try to scam you again.
Absolutely. Yeah, and when that happened, obviously, I had come out of my putting my head in the sand and wanting to just put on blindfolds that this wasn't really happening to me. Oh, it was really, really hard because of the shame, and I know we're gonna talk about that in a little bit, but, it just took pretty much everything out of me. I mean, it stripped me of every emotion, and I could have been vulnerable again, but luckily, I had a shred of just knowledge and awareness that, "No, no, we're not gonna go through this again."
So let's step back again. Why is it
Mhm.
so difficult to recognize that you're being scammed while it's actually happening?
Well, everybody has their own experience. For me, I was in a very, very stressful job, and I was living by myself, no family around me. That was in the past. I didn't want to pay attention to it. I just wanted to live in this fantasy world because it was such a diversion from the difficulties and responsibilities that I had in a day-to-day life. The other thing that was really important for what happened to me is that he built this whole fantasy life that we were gonna live on the coast. He told me what the house was gonna be like, we were gonna start a garden, and all of the things that he told me came from my profile. So one thing I would really warn everybody is keep your profile to a minimum. Don't say anything more than you need to.
Actually, those are really good words of wisdom. Yeah, be as private as you can, actually. So
Mhm.
you had talked about experience. What emotions did you experience during the scam?
I experienced, of course, high levels of joy. I almost felt like I had a secret inside me when I would be at meetings, even if I was running the meetings. I would have this little secret inside me, and it was just so exciting. And I knew I was going to talk to him, so it was kind of like that addiction. And Yet there was definitely anxiety, an undercurrent of anxiety because I knew that this wasn't right. But at the time, I wasn't aware enough. I didn't have the confidence, as I mentioned earlier, to get out of it.
So when we come back, we're going to delve more into this and talk about, what made you realize that something was wrong. And I know for a fact that, if you keep watching this show, you will be yeah, you'll know the red flags before you become a victim. So don't go away. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today we are talking about red flags, romance scams. Linda, let's go. Let's just dive right in. What made you
Mm.
realize something was wrong?
Because I was giving him money and I was buying Apple products and I was giving him a lot of money. And again, this is difficult, but I've gotten past that now. I lost almost $150,000. So if anybody is worrying about being ashamed of how much money they've lost, they can come talk to me because I lost a lot. Um, Again, when you are lonely and by yourself, the attention is what keeps you going. The gaslighting. So every time I would say something to him, hey, I this is something's going on. Oh no, no, we're building our future. We're building our future. So he knew how to string me along. And that's why I say that these are not individual people. There's groups behind, including, maybe psychologists, things, people that they know how to get to an individual emotionally.
Oh, it's hugely emotional. And
Mhm.
and I know that you've talked about this before, and you've mentioned this many times during the interview. The shame. So, what was
Mhm.
the hardest part of coming forward or seeking help?
The hardest part, was the shame. I was embarrassed. Oh, I was so embarrassed, so ashamed because I've always been the strong woman. I had to go to work. I had this big responsible job. Everybody always told me, "Oh my gosh, you're so strong." Well, I wasn't, and deep down inside, I just wanted to be loved. And this was finally happening. And it was almost too easy. And again, with the low self-esteem, I didn't have to face him face to face. And that almost made it better because I just got to stay in fantasy land. Um, yeah, mostly it was shame and self-blame. I was worried about being judged. I was worried about people saying, "We told you so. We told you so." All of those things that just bring up some of the darkest emotions in ourselves. And it was either that dark emotion or this joy.
Yeah.
So
Which
that's what,
which which goes from one end of the spectrum to the other, right? There's no happy
Mhm.
happy medium. So,
There is no
okay,
happy medium.
how did you protect yourself once you realized that you were being scammed and you knew the truth?
So, of course, I cut off all contact, my blocked him on text, same thing with emails. I tried to reach out to my family and friends for the support, but I was almost just so embarrassed that I just withdrew inside myself, except that there was that little piece of me that was so relieved that it was finally over. And then from there, I turned around and it was going to be time to heal. I did not want to carry this with shame and yucky stuff for the rest of my life.
And good for
Um,
you, because a lot of people would sit down and think, "I never wanna go through this again," and cocoon. But what you're doing right now is super brave, and the fact that you're sharing, because I know that there are thousands of other women who have been through this, and there will be
mhm.
thousands of other women who will go through this as well. And I think this would be a wonderful textbook for people to watch and help them, not only heal, but learn from the red flags and hopefully not go through this. But I want to talk about trust, because
Yes.
this totally breaks safety and trust. What impact did the experience have on you?
Well, interestingly, the break of trust was more with myself because I have been a pretty, straightforward person. I've been successful. I have a master's degree. I've been an administrator in it for a very, very large educational county system. And so you would think in a million years that that wouldn't happen to me. And it did. So it was really about getting over myself. I was disappointed in myself. I was shamed. I was scared because I had lost a lot of money. Yet I didn't want to show those emotions to my family and friends and especially my children. Oh my gosh, that was the worst. They were adults at the time. And everybody knew that I was going through this and they're trying to get me out of it. So it wasn't so much that my trust with everything was broken, it was my trust with myself.
So, trust with yourself. I want to start this before we go to commercial break. How did you begin healing then after the experience?
Well, a quote that I always have gone by is healing begins the moment you realize what happened to you does not define who you are. So between that and Oprah Winfrey's quote of turn your wounds into wisdom, that's what I needed and that's what I did.
Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today we're discussing surviving a romance scam and what red flags to look out for. And I'm joined by Linda Young. She's a co-author of Her King, the Con, and a romance scam survivor. So, Linda, we've got a lot to pack in here. What would you say to someone who thinks this could never happen to me? I'm too smart for this. I will be able to figure it out on my own. So, because there are so many haters out there that write things on social media and put down victims, what would you say?
Well, what I would say to that is just like any major thing that happens to us in our lives, it doesn't have to be a romance scam. It can be anything where we make a bad decision, we make a poor choice, we make a choice because we didn't want to make the other choice that came along with it. So I think it's about the fact that everybody can be vulnerable when it comes to life and these big, huge things that happen in your life. One of the things that I hadn't mentioned before is that when I was going through this, he sent me pictures from Cuba, pictures of him on a sailboat in Miami, a video of him at a villa he said that he was going to buy there that would make, our income in our future. They were all fake. And in fact, even the picture of him was from a hacked Instagram account. So that's why another reason why I kept going because I thought, but he's sending me videos. I mean, I have pictures of him in Cuba, in Miami. It's gotta be true. He has to be real. And no, he wasn't. So that's a major red flag too.
And you know what bothers me right now is all this AI. People can
Mhm.
recreate videos, people can recreate other people, conversations. So I think this is even a bigger red flag for individuals going forward.
Mhm.
Because we really have to be on alert and
Mhm.
we really have to protect ourselves, especially with AI where it's at right now. But what are the biggest red flags people should watch for online?
Getting too close too fast, calling you darling. Here's something we found out, or I found out. He called me queen, the queen. And that just was everything for me. We found out later that scammers do that on purpose. They call their victims queen because they have so many scams going, they might not remember your name. And so the queen became, the way that they communicate. So being told, "Oh, I love you, we're gonna have a wonderful future together." Um, the over amount of attention, the checking in every day, the thank you, you're making our lives wonderful. All of that, is when you know you're in pretty deep. The first time you give anybody anything, and please don't give them a dime, because when you do it, it kind of becomes a little easier, even though you're uncomfortable, the next time, the next time, the next time. Meet your person face to face in a safe place. No personal information and no long distance romances. Stick to people that are in your own town.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. We're almost wrapping up here. What do you want people to understand about victims of online predators?
The biggest thing that I want people to know is to not give in to the feelings of shame. Protect yourself. Let it go and just work on and healing yourself, getting back to, who you are, your strength, and forgiveness. Forgiving yourself for going through this and other people knowing all about it, especially family and friends. And they're not always nice, and they can make you can run into situations where people make you feel really bad. And so the whole point of my message and what I want to be here for is that I want everyone or anyone that goes through this to get through those difficult dark times with the drive to heal. So turning your wounds into wisdom, learn about online scamming, become an expert at it, help other people. We have to conglomerate. We have to go after the online dating platforms and get them too to be better screeners so we don't have all of these evil people coming through and going after us. So, more important, let's get together. Don't isolate. Let's all join together and do what we can.
Linda, thank you so much for these words of wisdom. I know you will help a lot.
Thank you very much.
Shelley Frost, Linda's sister and co author, wants you to know oftentimes people enraptured by an online love who's abusing them by stealing their money will push away friends and family members. They do this because their romance is consuming them. Even if they suspect that they're being taken advantage of, the humiliation of learning the truth is too much to bear. So, as the victim turns his or her back to those who would help them break free, the scammer always prevails. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope that this episode is helpful to you or a loved one. Make sure that you share this because we don't want to have anyone else get scammed throughout the years.